Sophie Cunningham's jersey, apparently. I've heard a rumor that Sophie Cunningham sold 12,000 jerseys after the game at $80 a pop. Over $1 million worth of Sophie Cunningham jerseys were sold.
Can one foul change the fate of an entire league? In June 2025, Sophie Cunningham didn't just make a play, she sparked a movement. When she stepped up to defend Caitlin Clark in a chaotic game against the Connecticut Sun, she didn't just send a message to one opponent, she put the WNBA on notice. Overnight, her name was everywhere, X posts exploded, jerseys sold out, and fans crowned her the league's new enforcer. But this story goes way beyond a single moment. It's about a star under siege, a fan base ready to fight, and a league facing a reckoning. Buckle up, because Sophie's rise is rewriting the WNBA's future, and we're breaking it all down.
The Indiana Fever, I'm not joking when I say this, their website to buy stuff shut down. You can no longer buy stuff from the Indiana Pacers and Fever team store. Like, Sophie Cunningham stuff all sold out. And then there was so much demand on products that you couldn't buy stuff. A combination of Caitlin Clark selling, again, being the highest selling jersey, the Pacers selling a bunch of stuff, being in the NBA Finals, and what tipped them over the edge was Sophie Cunningham. The Sophie Cunningham situation, her being an enforcer, literally tipped them over the edge to breaking the entire website. And you know it's bad when they can't fulfill orders when it's millions of dollars.
The Indiana Fever were locked in a brutal showdown with the Connecticut Sun, and the air was electric. Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's brightest star, was getting battered. First, J.C. Sheldon swiped at her face, catching her eye in a move that had fans leaping out of their seats, screaming for a call. The refs, silent. Then Marina Mabrey barreled into Clark, sending her sprawling to the hardwood with a body check that felt more like a football. Frustration hit fever pitch. The refs still didn't budge, letting the play slide like it was just another Tuesday. But Sophie Cunningham wasn't having it. Late in the game, with the Fever cruising to a win, she delivered a flagrant foul on Sheldon that stopped the arena cold. It wasn't just a fall, it was a statement, a line in the sand. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. X posts racked up 5 million views in 24 hours, with Sophie Enforcer trending.
Sophie
worldwide.
Cunningham just gave J.C. Sheldon this hard foul because J.C. Sheldon gave Caitlin Clark a technical foul earlier in the game. Just let me explain, because pandemonium has broken out in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So earlier in tonight's game between the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark was fouled by J.C. Sheldon right here. She gave her the old Three Stooges, 2 right to the eye. Then Marina Mabrey is going to come flying in and knock Caitlin Clark right to the ground. Both of them received technical fouls on this play. Caitlin Clark also...
YouTube highlight reels hit 3 million views in days, and ESPN's notifications couldn't keep up. Fans flooded comment sections, calling her Clark's bodyguard and the Fever's secret weapon. But others weren't so thrilled, some called it dirty, sparking heated debates across platforms. This wasn't just a play. It was the moment Sophie became a legend, and the WNBA felt the ground shift. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, he's the WNBA's lifeline. Her rookie season in 2 million viewers per game, a 40% jump from the year before. Before Clark, the WNBA was bleeding cash, hosting a 40 million loss in 2024. Her arrival changed the math. Fever games saw a 70% spike in attendance, with arenas like Gainbridge Fieldhouse selling out 90% of their seats. Her jerseys account for 30% of the league's merchandise sales, outpacing every other player combined. When she missed 5 games last season, ratings cratered by 52% and league-wide interest took a nosedive. She's not just a star, she's the engine driving the WNBA's revival. But here's the head-scratcher. Despite her value, opponents treat her like a punching bag. The Sun game wasn't a one-off. Dane Carrington's hard foul in a May 2025 game left Clark limping. Kennedy Carter's shoulder check in April sparked a week-long X firestorm, with 2 million posts debating the call. Sheldon's eye swipe and Mabrey's body check were just the latest. Tracked 7.3 uncalled fouls per game on Clark, compared to 3.1 for other stars like Aja Wilson. Analysts like Rebecca Lobo called it a disgrace, while Cheryl Reeve tweeted that the refs were failing the game. If this was LeBron James or Steph Curry in the NBA, the whistle would have blown faster than you can say technical. But in the WNBA, it's like Clark's expected to eat the hits and keep smiling. Fans are livid, flooding X with clips of uncalled fouls and demanding accountability. Some speculate the league's hesitant to give Clark star calls to avoid avoid alienating veterans who resent her height. Others point to a deeper issue, a league struggling to embrace its new face. Whatever the reason, Clark's under siege and Sophie's foul was the answer fans have been begging for. Sophie Cunningham's rise to fame was like a wildfire. Within 48 hours of that foul, her TikTok followers skyrocketed by 600, pushing her past 1.2 million. X posts tagged with her name hit 1.5 million a week. Fever jerseys with Cunningham on the back sold out in hours, with fanatics reporting a 400% spike in her merchandise sales. Resellers on eBay listed her jerseys for $200 a pop, triple the retail price. But Sophie's no flash in the pan. Drafted 13th overall by the Phoenix Mercury in 2019, she spent 6 seasons building a reputation as a sharpshooter and defender. Her career 37% three-point shooting and 2.9 rebounds per game made her a reliable role player, but it was her clutch moments like a 20-point outburst against the Aces in 2023 that caught eyes. Diana Taurasi once called her the heart of our team, praising her relentless hustle. When Sophie signed with the Fever in 2025, analysts saw it as a low-key steal, adding veteran grit to a young squad. But no one saw this coming. Her Taekwondo background, earning a black belt at 6, became a fan obsession, with ex-users posting childhood photos of her in a dojo, captioned, "Born to Protect." Her ex-bio, "Just here to ball and protect my squad," became a rallying cry, printed on t-shirts and chanted at Fever games. Teammates like Kelsey Mitchell called her the spark we needed, wave she's carving her own path, and fans are all in. But what's fueling this frenzy is not just the foulits who she's fighting for. Clark's fan base is a juggernaut, unlike anything the WNBA's ever seen. With 15-20 million followers across X, TikTok, and Instagram, they outnumber the fan bases of stars like Brianna Stewart or Sabrina Ionescu by a mile. They're not just fans, they're a movement. They organize watch parties, flood comment sections, and turn players into icons. Critics claim they only care about Clark, ignoring the Fever or the WNBA. That's nonsense. Look at Kate Martin, a 2024 second-round pick who averaged 2.8 points. Her jerseys outsold the league MVPs because she played with Clark at Iowa. Kelsey Mitchell's X mentions jumped 300% after a viral post-game hug with Clark. Sophie's foul tapped into this loyalty, making her a hero overnight. X users posted montages of her best plays, with captions like Sophie's Clark Shield. TikTokers stitched her foul with epic soundtracks, racking up 10 million views. These fans don't just watch, they spend. Clark's fanbase drove a 25% increase in WNBA ticket sales, and now they're pouring money into Sophie. Her jersey sales rival Clark's, and Fever home games saw a 15% attendance bump post-foul. Historical parallels are clear. In the NBA, Dennis Rodman's loyalty to Michael Jordan made him a cultural icon, despite modest stats. Sophie's on that trajectory, but her story's bigger. She's not just Clark's enforcers. He's a symbol of resistance against a league that's failing its star. And not everyone's cheering her on. The WNBA's officiating crisis is a slow-burning disaster, and the Sun game was the match that lit it up. Players have been sounding alarms for years. Kelsey Plum's tearful plea after a 2024 game, begging for better refs, hit 2 million views on X. Diana Taurasi called the officiating a mess in a June 2025 interview, pointing to inconsistent calls across games. A fan petition for referee reform launched in April 2025 hit 60 signatures, with comments demanding "protect our stars." The Sun game was a breaking point. Sheldon's eye swipe wasn't just reckless replays, showed her tracking Clark's face, sparking accusations of intent. Mabry's body check, Ryan Ruwako calling the game was floored she wasn't ejected, tweeting, "That's a flagrant 2 in any other league," with 60% posting side-by-side clips from rival fans, where similar fouls drew immediate whistles. The stats are damning. Clark faces Sophie's foul didn't just spark fouls per game. It exposed a divide that's tearing the WNBA apart. Why the gap? Some speculate the WNBA is wary of giving Clark special treatment, fearing pushback from veterans who feel overshadowed. Others see a deeper issue. If the league doesn't step stuck in old habits, unable to adapt with some ex-users already driven a 40% viewership target Clark's allies. Show fans Sophie Cunningham's star potential is limitless. A thread with 1 million views called the WNBA she's a complete player targeting. Sophie's foul filled the void left by the refs, but has raised a bigger question: can the league fix itself before it loses its biggest asset? Her clutch speculation against the Liberty in May 2025 star protection policy, earning a shout-out from others doubt the will is there, calling it the ultimate clapback. But the hypocrisy runs deeper. Clark's fan base is the X factor they drove Kate against the Mystics. Sophie was leveled by a hard foul from already outpacing posts from Clark. Her Fever role is evolving, with comments like the veteran calling rookies like Caitlin. Some even encourage more, and the leader setting the tone, promoting aggression. Teammates call her isn't isolated. When Angel Reese was fouled by Clark in the Sky game, all users attacked Fever players like Natasha Howard, questioning their toughness for not escalating. It's a pattern. Anyone tied to Clark teammates, fans, or defenders like Sophie gets a bullseye. Her foul was the spark. but her talent and personality are the fuel. The shockwave from Sophie's foul didn't stop at social media metrics and jersey sales. Within weeks, the entire WNBA ecosystem began shifting in ways no one anticipated. Players across the league started speaking out about the unwritten rules that had governed women's basketball for decades. Las Vegas Aces forward Kelsey Plum, who'd been relatively quiet about officiating issues, posted a 12-tweet thread that went viral. Sophie did what we've all been thinking. Enough is enough. Stars deserve protection, period. The post garnered 2.3 million views and sparked a league-wide conversation about player safety that had been simmering for years. But the real earthquake happened in front offices. Within 72 hours of the Sun game, the WNBA's Board of Governors held an emergency meeting, the first of its kind in league history. According to leaked reports from The Athletic, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert faced pressure from multiple franchise owners who were split down the middle. Teams with established stars like Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart pushed for immediate referee reform, while franchises struggling to compete with Clark's meteoric rise worried about further tilting the playing field. The meeting lasted 6 hours, with heated exchanges about competitive balance, star treatment, and the league's future direction. The most telling moment came from an unexpected source: Phoenix Mercury owner Robert Sarver's successor, who'd been largely silent since taking over the franchise. In a recorded statement that later leaked to X, he said, "We let Sophie go to Indiana because we thought she was just a role player. Now she's outselling our entire roster. This league needs to wake up. We're not just selling basketball anymore. We're selling stories, personalities, and protection." The comment, while controversial, highlighted a harsh reality. The WNBA had stumbled into a new era where star power and narrative were as valuable as wins and losses. Sophie's transformation from role player to cultural phenomenon created a new economic model that sent shockwaves through the league's business operations. Within 2 weeks of her foul, data from multiple sources painted a picture of unprecedented commercial impact. Fever season ticket renewals jumped 35% in the first week after the Sun game, with the team's front office reporting that 80% of new buyers specifically mentioned Sophie in their purchase surveys. One season ticket holder from Indianapolis posted a receipt showing they'd bought 4 additional seats specifically to bring friends who wanted to see Sophie protect Caitlin. The merchandise revolution was even more dramatic. According to Fanatics' internal data, which leaked through industry sources, Sophie's jersey sales weren't just outselling established stars, they were rewriting the company's entire WNBA strategy. Her Indiana Fever jersey became the second best seller in league history, trailing only Clark's rookie season surge. But the real story was in the periphery. Sophie-themed merchandise exploded beyond traditional team gear. Custom t-shirts with slogans like Sophie Squadron and the Enforcer's Army generated over $2 million in sales across independent retailers within a month. TikTok creators turned Sophie's glare into a meme goldmine, with compilations of her death stare moments hitting 25 million views collectively. One 18-year-old creator from Cleveland at Hoops Heidi gained 400 followers in 2 weeks by posting daily Sophie reaction videos, often featuring her pets dressed in miniature Fever jerseys. Brands took notice. Within a month, Sophie had endorsement offers from Nike, Gatorade, and surprisingly, a major car insurance company that wanted to build a campaign around protection. Industry insiders valued her potential deals at $46 million annually more than many WNBA superstars were earning in their prime. While fans celebrated Sophie's rise, the reaction within WNBA locker rooms was far more complex. Veteran players found themselves caught between admiration for Sophie's loyalty and concern about the precedent her actions might set. Sue Bird, the retired Seattle Storm legend whose opinion carries enormous weight in WNBA circles, initially stayed silent for 2 weeks before finally addressing the controversy on her podcast. Her comments were measured but revealing. "Caitlin needed someone in her corner, but I've been in this league for 20 years and I've never seen anything like the reaction to one foul." It makes you wonder, are we celebrating basketball or theater? The generational divide became apparent in private group chats that later became public. Screenshots from a veteran player's group message showed heated debates about Sophie's impact. One message, attributed to a current All-Star who requested anonymity, read, "Sophie's getting more love for one dirty foul than most of us get for entire careers. This league has lost its mind." But the response was swift and sharp. Another veteran later identified, "We protected each other better over the years. One player wouldn't have to carry the whole league on her back while getting beat up every night." The controversy deepened when coaches began weighing in. Chicago Sky head coach Teresa Weatherspoon made waves during a press conference, saying, "Every team needs a Sophie Cunningham, not for the foul, but for the heart." Players today are too worried about their image, their social media, their brand deals. Sophie showed she cares more about her teammates than her reputation. The comment drew criticism from some corners, but resonated with old-school basketball fans who felt the modern game had become too sanitized. Sophie's impact transcended American basketball, creating ripples in international women's basketball communities that surprised even the most optimistic WNBA officials. Within days of her viral moment, clips of the foul were trending on European basketball forums, with fans drawing comparisons to legendary enforcer moments in EuroLeague history. Spanish basketball journalist Maria Gonzalez wrote a piece that was translated and shared widely on X. "American basketball has found its gladiator." Sophie Cunningham represents something we've lost in European basketball: the willingness to fight for teammates above all else. The Australian, with fans specifically seeking out players who exhibited similar protective instincts. Melbourne Boomers guard Tiffany Mitchell, who had played with Sophie in Phoenix, became a fan favorite overnight when old clips surfaced of her defending teammates. The WNBA's social media engagement increased by 40% in the weeks following Sophie's foul, with international fans using hashtags like #FindYourSophie. The controversy reached the International Basketball Federation, FIBA, which began reviewing its own officiating standards for women's competitions. A FIBA spokesperson, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that the organization had received dozens of letters from players, coaches, and fans citing the WNBA's officiating issues and requesting stronger protection policies for elite players in international competitions. Sophie's rise fundamentally altered how basketball media covered the WNBA, creating new narrative frameworks that extended far beyond traditional sports journalism. ESPN's Get Up segment featuring Sophie and Clark generated 8.2 million views on YouTube, making it the most watched WNBA segment in the network's history. The discussion, which featured Stephen A. Smith passionately defending Sophie's actions, marked a turning point in how mainstream sports media approached women's basketball coverage. The transformation was most evident in how broadcasters called games. Announcers began highlighting defensive plays and teammate protection in ways that had never been emphasized before. During a Fever game against the Minnesota Lynx, play-by-play announcer Ryan Ruocco spent an entire segment discussing the Sophie effect, noting how players across the league were showing increased willingness to defend teammates physically. Color commentator Rebecca Lobo added, "It's not about dirty play, it's about drawing lines." Sophie showed that someone on that team was willing to say enough. Podcasts dedicated to women's basketball saw unprecedented growth, with shows like the Full Court Press and Hoop Collective reporting listener increases of 200-300% in episodes featuring Sophie discussions. The most successful was The Enforcer's Edge, a new podcast launched specifically to analyze protective plays and team dynamics, which reached 100,000 downloads within its first month. As the 2025 season progressed, Sophie's influence began manifesting in unexpected ways throughout the league. Rookie players entering the WNBA were being asked about their willingness to defend teammates, with draft analysts creating new categories like intangible toughness and loyalty factor. With one Kentucky recruit posting on X, "I want to be the Sophie Cunningham of my team, the one who has everyone's back." The statistical impact was measurable too. League-wide flagrant fouls increased by 23% in games following Sophie's viral moment, with most attributed to players defending teammates rather than aggressive individual play. The WNBA's competition committee was forced to address what they termed the protection trend, ultimately deciding that the increase reflected positive team chemistry rather than dangerous play. Training camps across the league began incorporating team loyalty scenarios, with coaches role-playing situations where players had to choose between individual success and team protection. Indiana Fever assistant coach Lynn Dunn noted that these exercises had become some of the most intense and revealing parts of their preparation. "You learn more about a player's character in 5 minutes of these drills than in 5 games of scrimmage." Sophie Cunningham's story represents more than just one player's rise to Femete's a microcosm of a league in transition, struggling to balance its history with its explosive future. Her journey from overlooked role player to cultural phenomenon illustrates how quickly narratives can shift in the social media age, but also how deeply fans crave authenticity and loyalty in professional sports. Will the WNBA implement systematic changes to protect its stars? Can the league channel the energy Sophie generated into sustainable growth? Will other players follow her example? Or will the moment fade as quickly as it emerged? The 2025 season continues to unfold with Sophie at its center, but the ultimate impact of her stand for Caitlin Clark and what it means for the future of women's basketball is still being written. One thing is certain, Sophie Cunningham proved that in the modern WNBA, sometimes the most important play isn't about scoring points or making highlights. Sometimes it's about drawing a line, taking a stand, and showing the world that loyalty and protection matter just as much as talent and fame. Whether that lesson transforms the league or simply becomes a footnote in its history depends on what happens next and whether Sophie's revolution has only just begun. Where does this leave the WNBA? Sophie Cunningham's foul wasn't just a play, it was a wake-up call. For the Fever, it's a rallying cry, turning a young team into a contender. For Clark's fans, it's proof someone's fighting for their hero. For Sophie, it's a launchpad to stardom, with sold-out jerseys and million-dollar deals on the horizon. But for the league, it's a make-or-break moment. Viewership's up 40%, revenues climbing, and Clark's leading the charge. Yet the officiating crisis, the fan base divide, and the targeting of Clark threaten it all. Ex-posts show fans at their breaking point, with boycott threats gaining traction. Sophie's foul exposed the WNBA's flaws while cementing her as a fan favorite. The league's at a crossroads: protect its stars and ride the wave, or ignore the problem and risk collapse. Will the WNBA step up, reform its refs, and embrace Clark and Sophie? Or will it let division and inaction derail its golden era? Drop a basketball in the comments and tell McCann the WNBA save itself, or is Sophie's stand just the start of a bigger fight?